Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey, now everybody, welcome to episode 390 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. We're getting up there in episode numbers there. Damn. I'm Trevor Anderson. Send you over to Jason Rugard. He's got a rundown for us.
On tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about the new film Strays, the movie you may have missed in theaters. It's premiering on Peacock, as well as the Continental, also on Peacock, and Guy Ritchie's The Covenant on Prime, as well as Totally Killers. Is it Totally Killer? Totally Killers? I don't know. It's plural, singular. Yeah, well, I mean, there was a lot of them. I saw a few minutes of this movie, but I know you watched the whole thing, so we'll get into that. As well as trailers for the latest Nicolas Cage A24 collaboration called Dream Scenario, Jason Statham's latest, The Beekeeper. He keeps making movies. And, let's not forget this. Lastly, what was the last trailer? I forgot the last trailer. It was so good, it slipped my memory here. Silent Hill.
Dream Scenario?
No, Silent Hill,
Night.
The John Woo movie. In fact, how could I bury the lead and not tell... Silent Night, thank you, Silent Hill.
I mean,
different
Silent
bad
Hills
movie.
Would be a different thing.
But I buried the lead and did not mention that I saw Expendables 4, and I will be talking about that on this episode as well. That's how memorable that experience was, to give you a little spoiler on there. But first, let's do a little trivia. What do you got tonight for the trivia book?
Let's see what we got. What film marked Robert De Niro's second appearance in a Martin Scorsese picture? New York, New York, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, Raging Bull.
Taxi Driver.
That's the first.
No? Mean Streets is the first.
I forgot about Mean Streets. Okay. Well, in that case, that is correct.
All right, let's do it again.
I forgot Mean Streets existed. I want to watch that.
I'm not the biggest Mean Streets fan, to be honest. I think Taxi
Neither
Driver
am I, but I haven't
is the brilliant
seen it
one.
forever. Really, I tried to watch Taxi Driver not too long ago, then I couldn't get through it.
I haven't seen it since it was re-released about 20 years ago for an anniversary screening, and it played well on a big screen, though. I'll say that. It was creepy still.
Yeah, big screens. I don't know. Yeah. Let's see. 6:38. Okay. Forrest Gump tells the president, "I gotta pee." Which president does he say this to? Nixon, Kennedy, Carter, Johnson. Is it not Carter?
No, it's Kennedy.
Is it Kennedy? Correct mundo.
All right. Let's see if I can get a clean sweep on 3 tonight. We got to keep going here. Hot hand.
1868. All right. This is really jumping around today, so...
Yeah, we're in all sorts of genres and eras, and
yeah, it's going from one end of the book here to the other.
It's fucking mental gymnastics.
Overtime. Okay, 1868. Oh shit! I see a picture of Burt Reynolds here.
My boy Bertie.
I don't know if this question's about him, but he's on this page, so he's with you.
I feel comfortable already.
All right, we got Back to School is a 1986 comedy in which middle-aged Rodney Dangerfield returns to college. Hey, can you name the popular novelist who makes a cameo appearance as himself in the film? Vonnegut, we got Norman Mailer, John Irving, Joseph Heller.
I want to say it was Mailer, yeah.
I mean, that would be, yeah. No, was it Vonnegut?
Oh, fuck.
Interesting. I haven't seen Back to School in a while.
That's tough. That was a tough one.
Well, you got that one wrong. Yeah. Bert failed you.
I know, you threw me off with the Burt. I got in the Burt mode here, and you went back to school. I thought, hey, Rodney Dangerfield, what are we doing here?
Sorry about that, yeah.
Polar opposites, Burt Reynolds and Rodney Dangerfield. Shit.
So, Burt Reynolds is the picture for the Guilty Pleasures section of this quiz book.
Did you follow
right.
the Rodney Dangerfield movies past Ladybugs? Did you see anything past that?
Oh,
Did you know he made movies like past that?
I mean, yes, but I don't know what they are. I haven't seen a Rodney Dangerfield movie in a long time.
Easy Money is still classic.
I would have to look up.
I can tell you, they're awful. It's like My Five Wives.
I own that one.
There's another one. He's in jail. It was awful. At the end of his career, it almost became like Ernest movies, like Ernest P. Worrell movies.
Yeah.
They just kept showing up on video store shelves.
Yeah, My Five Wives. Oh, The Godson.
There you go. Yeah, with Dom DeLuise.
Yeah. And they did the voice for that Rusty.
Yeah, it's bad.
Thing, that's right. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, Meet Wally Sparks, I guess, is the last real one.
And that, I think, was like late 90s, 97 or so.
Yeah.
And that was dog shit. Let's be honest.
But he really didn't make much after that. Just those things, you know. Fourth Tenor. Back by Midnight. I do remember this one.
That's the jail one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awful. It's almost unwatchable.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, hey. He got his paychecks.
He still gets no respect, right?
Yeah. Well, definitely now, yeah.
Let's talk about a movie that got no respect in the theaters, and that's Strays, the Will Ferrell, Jamie Foxx comedy. I guess you could say that they did voice the main dogs that are acting as the main characters, but they're not really in the movie. It's just a voiceover job. And this was shunned in its theatrical release. It's now on Peacock. I got a chance to watch it over the weekend. I thought this was a serviceable comedy, nothing special. I had a few laughs that were pretty big. I thought the gag where they ate the mushrooms was pretty good, and a couple moments in the beginning with the owner were amusing. But overall, for a short film that ran 98 minutes, I was pretty done with this at about the midway mark. And while some of the voice casting was clever, I thought Sofia Vergara as the couch, was cool, and Ferrell is okay. I kind of like that. He's basically doing a version of Buddy, right? The elf. It's like the super good, all loving, really innocent character. And Jamie Foxx is funny, but he's doing the motherfucker Jones character from Horrible Bosses. So if you like that, I guess you'd like this. And it's not bad. It's not gonna waste your time watching it, but it's nothing to write home about. I guess it's a mild recommendation for me, is what I'm giving this one.
Yeah, I mean, if you liked Homeward Bound 2, Lost in San Francisco, and you were a big fan of Babe 2 Pig in the City, yeah, this is right up your alley. This is a terrible movie, man. I mean, there's no redeeming quality to this. I liked the bad owner idea. The dog still loved the owner regardless of that. I thought that was about the only smart thing. This is a real low IQ movie, and I don't really have a problem with a lot of movies that are lowbrow comedy, which this is, but it's just so fucking dumb. Like dog dicks really aren't that funny, man. You make a whole thing about dog dicks the whole time and just weird shit like that. This is just a movie that felt like people were just fucking off when they made this, the whole thing. It's not a serious film by any means whatsoever.
It's a doodle.
I didn't find it funny either.
It's basically a doodle. It's a first draft in a lot of ways. I forgot about how obsessed it was with
Lost in San Francisco, Babe 2 Pig in the City. This movie skips the first good movie and just makes this shitty sequel right away.
Well, I did think it was clever that the owner kept trying to get rid of him and his loyalty to him.
I like the premise of it like that, but other than that, it spends way too much time on nonsense shit. I don't like any of these characters. I have no feeling towards anyone in this. There's no point to the movie. There's nothing. You just get nothing out of this by the end of it.
I can see why it didn't perform in the box office. It's perfect for streaming.
It's dog shit.
And ultimately, when you realize it after a while, you're just watching animals run around a screen with voices.
It's just people fucking around.
Hold on. There is a couple gags that work, though. Like I said, the mushroom gag. And I did like when they came across the dog at the carnival who was doing the dog's purpose thing where it was narrating the human's life. I thought that was clever. Like, there are some bits in here that do work.
How hard did you laugh at Dennis Quaid?
I mean, that was awwul. That was a terrible cameo.
That's the whole movie as far as I'm concerned. It was just shit like that.
I thought the dog narrating the human kissing was funnier than the actual Dennis Quaid cameo.
Sure. Some of it, I agree with you. They had like very minute small moments that I do like the idea of the film. There's just no heart in this movie at all. There's no point to the film. It feels like people were just checking off boxes when they made this movie, and then they thought, if we just make some really crude jokes, we're making a kids movie for adults. But I'm an adult. I don't want to watch a child's movie.
And it's ultimately what this is. A bunch of animals running around, even though they're being forced to say
there's nothing
shit.
intelligent about the movie at all. It's just, it's hardly a story.
Although, if you're in the right type of mood and you want some sort of mindless,
There's no right
cheap
type
laughs,
of mood. You can
I think
find
that this is
something
okay.
else. And there's no cheap laughs. There's not enough laughs in this.
It does feel long, though, for a short film. I have to admit on that.
That's because sequences are very long. There's that whole sequence where the dog's trying to get a boner.
There is that.
And it just goes on and on. There's a lot of shadow work in this movie, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder how much of it's CG as well, because it seemed like they were really doing a lot of this, but at the same time, the facial expressions and obviously the mouth.
The facial expressions, the way that they now shoot these animal movies, like, it just, the whole thing feels so staged and unrealistic. Like, if you ever do go back and watch those, the Homeward Bound, like, remakes and even the Babe movies, everything feels more real in those. Like, even though obviously those are staged as well, the animals really are doing all the acting. And with the digital stuff, you can take the animals from different takes. You can not have them in the scene together, and so you can get the perfect rhythm and the perfect, physical movement stuff out of all the animals together. It just looks weird. Like, I don't see dogs sitting around looking at each other like that. I never do.
No, that's
it's
a good
so
point.
awkward to see it. It's not realistic on any level.
That's a good point. I'll give you that. All right, let's move on and talk about the next film tonight. That's the TV show, actually. I want to talk to you about The Continental. This is the John Wick show that premiered on Peacock. It's a 3-part series. Each episode, they say episode, but they're hour and a half long. They're mini movies.
It's a mini series, really, yeah.
Yeah, a mini series. There you go. We're released every Friday. As we record this, only the first one has been released, so only Trevor and I have seen the first one, but we're going off what we've seen so far. And I gotta say, no, I think actually they've released a couple now. And
I was gonna say, aren't all of them maybe released at this point? I don't even know. I'm not watching them.
I've seen the first one, and I gotta admit, I like what I saw for the most part when it featured the characters that I liked. That being the Winston Scott, obviously, who I tuned in for, and his brother, the character that I didn't think I would like, but the mystery of the brother and what he's doing, and he's the beginning of that. And I really liked what Mel Gibson was doing. I thought he was struggling with the Boston accent.
If they just stuck to that the whole way through, I would probably have been a lot more interested in it. But there's too much other characters.
Why are we focusing on these other characters that have nothing to add to this?
We need to add a lot. We need footage, I guess.
Couldn't we have just made this one movie then? Couldn't we have just made this prequel movie and cut out all the bullshit?
Yeah, or you could have just made these a lot shorter episodes. They don't have to be like 3-hour long damn things, however long. How long are these?
About an hour and a half each.
Yeah, so you probably could have done like it would have been far more interesting to have like 40-minute episodes, and you probably could have done more than 3 at that rate, and you would have had more than enough time to just focus on what you want, on what you should have been focusing on. I don't know. I don't need other characters. I don't need a world. We already know the world. This should just have been way more interesting, and it's just not. I'm not interested in watching any more of it.
It pains me because I want to recommend it. I liked what I saw when it was doing what it was sold to be doing, like that opening action sequence. Even when the kids were in New York and it was black and white and it started, I thought that was kind of gripping. And then it goes into that 1970s. It has a beautiful oneer. This is directed by Albert Hughes, this pilot episode where the brother in the very beginning walks into that Studio 54 club, has all these interactions and walks out. It's a beautiful one-shot. And then that great action sequence, and they really do fulfill the promise of the fact that the action is where they said it was going to be. But the story, my God, when it cut to the female cop, I was like, where are we going here? And then now you have the street gang with the it's just, what now? I said, we've gotten so far off the beaten path that I forgot I was watching a story about Winston in the Continental in the John Wick world.
I was a little worried when the brother was so good, like
already.
I thought, oh my God, because here we are, because John Wick is John Wick, right? So here we are now. This dude's already John Wick. Like we're going to have a problem here. But they actually played it off pretty well. That nobody else is like that. It's just he's just fucking good. Winston still happened to be Winston. I was afraid they were going to make Winston like some sort of an action star. Well, he's not. So
I'm glad he's not.
So am I. So I think you're right. Like, when this thing's focused where it should be, it's pretty good. But there's too much fat on this. It makes it like you got to sloth through some of these just boring ass sequences. And after 10 minutes on some other characters, I'm thinking, what the fuck am I watching? I forgot. Like, where are we? What's going on? Get back to the other shit.
Yeah, it's people shoehorned in for either a diversity writer or just
is
overall.
that what it is? I don't know. I don't understand why it's like this. It's really piss poor.
But you think about the characters that they're shooing in. It's an interracial love story, and then the other is a multi-ethnic street gang. And without that, there's not really much diversity in this world. So I could see where a writer's room would come up with that. And I'm not trying to be political or even make a statement here about any of that shit. I'm just saying it feels like this was a writer's room idea, and someone said, we need to expand this, we need to broaden this world because it's not. But then if you look at the actual movies, it's a worldwide.
They could have done that better
globetrotting.
The way they did it here.
I
Yeah, they
agree.
could have introduced other killers and things and had people involved in a much funner, more streamlined way. This movie or this show, whatever the hell it is, it goes forward, as you say, with an interesting storyline where the guy's kind of trying to figure shit out, and then it breaks away and does a whole fucking thing. And you're like, well, I was involved in the other thing. Why am I watching this shit now that I don't care about? I literally don't give a shit what these people do or how they do it.
It's like watching a Kingsman movie and then going to watch a Sidney Lumet film because tonally it shifts too.
Yeah, and it's just cutting like away, but it's taking so long. It's not like they cut away and like here's some filler in between, so you can so they can move the story along outside of your view, so they can go someplace else or do anything like that. That's not what they do. They spend like a solid amount of fucking time on somebody else's bullshit, and it's like slows the whole thing just slows to a crawl as people have this fucking stupid dialogue that I don't give a shit about.
Best scene to me in the pilot was that sequence where Winston was getting the money or getting the guy to invest in the car park and scammed him with the guy's wife.
Right.
I loved that sequence, and I thought this show is going to be great. And then almost immediately after that is when they introduce the secondary characters in the second act. And it's just from there on out, it was a battle of whose show is this. And
I was just going to say,
yeah,
it feels like a different show, doesn't it? It feels like you're watching several shows cut together into one. It's really like, who's the main character?
It's jarring, actually. But the action is done well. The money is spent. It's on the screen. And what I do like about these miniseries or these shows lately that have been coming on these streaming services is that because of the budget, it's not like a regular old television show where you knew that the action or the set pieces weren't going to live up to what they could be in a theatrical experience. Now they really are damn near obviously John Wick is set such a high bar that this show can't reach it, but there are action sequences in this that are on the level, is all I got to say. So, but they're very far and few between. I think there's one or two action sequences in this whole pilot over 90 minutes. So be warned, but no, I can't recommend it. It's regretfully a non-recommendation for me, and I think you would agree as well.
Yeah, I think they need to be people need to be a little more careful with what they do with these properties at this point. I think they're finding that out the hard way, but I'd like for the lesson to already be learned, and let's move on. Let's make some good stuff.
I think they learned that again this weekend with The Exorcist at the box office.
Yeah, they just keep learning it, and it feels like every once in a while they do something right, or people do actually wind up enjoying something, and then they run with that as if they can just keep doing it, and it's like, no, you can't.
Yeah, there needs to be a reset at some point. But this property, I think, is coming to the end of its lifespan. I can't imagine John Wick, this world, expanding past this, particularly these sets of characters in another runoff series.
The movie is, even if they make another movie, it'll just be a cash grab thing. And it's like they made that new Matrix movie. It just ruins everything. There's no point to making a movie just to make a movie. They call those cash grabs, I guess, but in this sense, these don't really feel like cash grabs anymore. They feel like people want to work on something, want to make something, but they literally can't get anything off the ground other than they're just greenlighting things that they think have a built-in audience.
Well, what's also crazy is that I forgot some of these properties actually even exist. That they go back and that they redo some of these things too. I don't know. It's cash grabs and I don't know. The reboot train and the continuation of story trains. Do you remember when sequels used to be standalones? Do you remember when each...
Yeah.
Like well, we talked about watching Lethal Weapon 3. That's a standalone that has nothing to do with Lethal Weapon 1. And it's great. I want that.
You can't be safe, all the time. Because you run the risk of getting into this issue. Like if you get into these ruts where you just... The only thing you want to give people the green light to make is properties that you've heavily invested in already and you think are an easy sell. And then... Everyone's bored with it. I want to see something else.
When you think of the Matrix movies, getting back to that point briefly here, when you think of the Matrix movies, do you think of the fourth one? Does that even? I forgot it even exists. To be honest with you,
no, I don't. But that's what I mean. It's a horrible movie, right? It's completely erased. It's so bad that it's like. Remember when they made the sequels, and it was like, oh my god, really? But I've grown to enjoy those.
Me as well.
And it's like, okay, fine, those are in it, fine, whatever, you did that. But we're at the point now where they make movies on these things, and it's like, there's a second Independence Day movie. There are movies that you just fuck them, like they're just forgotten. That's how bad they are. Like they need to stop doing this. They killed Jurassic World, right, by just making horrible movies. That last one was just, fuck it. What's the point?
Yeah, I forgot about Jurassic World having that last one. I don't even think I saw that last one. My goodness.
Because it peters out. You just stop giving a shit.
Yeah, it's what it is. Yeah.
And it's unfair because, look, like we could talk about like the Fast and Furious movies. Okay, but that's the Fast and Furious movies. That's not everything else. Like I can't, it's unfair. And as far as the Marvel stuff goes, we're seeing that, well, that came to an end and they're unable to keep it going. And they shouldn't be keeping it going. They should be trying to do something new, something else, and it could be very similar, but they should at least take that leap.
Well, that could be the problem here too with this Wick franchise is you're diluting it to the point.
You should give it to somebody else. Someone should have something interesting to say about it. You should find someone who does that instead of saying, we're just going to make John Wick we're just going to use this world, and literally, this is called the Continental: from the world of John Wick. That's the title of this fucking show. That's stupid. What the fuck is that? That's the dumbest title in the world.
Yeah, very little.
There's nothing original. There's nothing imaginative about it. Yeah. It should have just been called the Continental, and it should have been about the Continental, which it seems almost this first episode really not so much to be about.
Right. Very little of it actually takes place in the Continental. So,
yeah, I just think opportunity lost yet again.
I agree. All right, let's move on and talk about the next film tonight. That's Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. And the reason we're calling it Guy Ritchie's The Covenant is because that is what the title card says.
I didn't know he was that big.
I think, honestly, and I'm not even being facetious when I say this, I think it's to remind you that he made it because this is the least stylized war movie I've seen in a long time, let alone Guy Ritchie movie, right? I was thinking about things like 13 Hours or was that 13 Hours, the Michael Bay one, the Benghazi movie. I was thinking about, we talked about Lone Survivor, but both of those are highly stylized compared to this. This is not many
those are
flourishes.
Action movies. You're talking about action movies. This isn't I guess it is an action movie, but this plays more like a war movie.
It's a war drama.
But that's what it plays like anyhow. And I guess the more stylized ones are more action movies. You're right.
And this is like Wind Talkers, right? In a certain way, it's got a Wind Talkers element, but it's also, to me, the problem with this movie was that
it's weird that you say that compared. I'm no fan of Wind Talkers, but Wind Talkers is a million times better than this.
I actually thought I was won over by this movie. I got to be honest with you. I thought it was a little disjointed. It turned into these vignettes where these guys didn't like each other, and every time he didn't listen to this guy, it turned out that he was in the right. I thought, where are we going here? But
the first act of this movie is just Jake Gyllenhaal going around to all these guys and going, bro. like your dick is small, bro, so is yours. Killer. Like, this is the most fucking nonsensical shit that no one would ever fucking say.
I didn't have a problem with it.
And half the time it's pointless. Like, he goes and meets the head, whatever, of operations there, whatever, the commander guy,
Yeah.
I don't know, of the
And they
army
have
there.
that
But they
weird
just
conversation.
do that because they need to have it. Their conversation is literally, you're a fucking asshole. So are you. Haha, cool. We were fucking, look at us, dude. We get along. We can talk shit to each other.
Very
we
frat boy.
We really mean, like, yeah, the whole movie's like that. But the only reason they have that conversation, period, ever, is because later on in the movie, they need to have that guy in the movie to tell him, okay, like, are you going to go back, like, and help him to get back and do that shit. And the movie is just not great.
I actually think that it's one of the better movies I've seen this year. So far, this makes my top 10 list. It's been a shitty year of movies, so not a long, distinguished list, but it is in my top 10. It grew on me as it went along. I gotta even say that Jake Gyllenhaal is becoming one of my favorite actors of this generation. I didn't realize how his easygoing nature, and yeah, he's not given a lot to do in that first act, but I really enjoyed their first interaction and how that was written.
Good in
the
this.
staging in that sequence when, although they use that trick a couple times where they're talking through the side view mirror, but the first time they use it in that sequence, I really liked when he wouldn't pay the guy and the guy comes out of his own pocket, and then when he has to go back to save him, it becomes a little bit more formula, I guess would be the best way to say it. But at that point, I was already all in, and I was invested in these characters. I think the acting by the guy who plays Ahmed is very strong as well. I think he's a very good actor, and I like that his character was written the way it was. I mean, he's not a pushover. He's not particularly happy that he's working with these Americans. And the stuff where our guy has to think if he's going to leave him or not, and we're going to be the hero, was a little less successful to me, but ultimately I do recommend this movie, and it grew on me. Like, I have no excuse. I liked it. I gotta recommend it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's directed fairly well. It's written horribly, but I do think it's acted very well. I agree with you on that part. But it is. I think the whole movie feels very disjointed. It feels very unauthentic. People just don't speak like people would speak. They do weird things. They don't really act like people act. I don't know. They don't emote in a way, especially the Jake Gyllenhaal character just it played way too rough. He's just, does he care? Does he not care? Does he care that he doesn't care? I don't like, what the fuck. By the time he's trying to figure out if he should go back and save this guy or not, it's just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with him. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a very good action in either.
That surprised me.
I don't know. Doesn't make a lot
the
of
lack
sense.
of action because of Guy Ritchie's very adequate action skills in this movie. It tells a great story. I mean, this is a story I didn't know about, but it's a horrific story that we left some of these people behind to fend for themselves, and the failure of that whole operation.
This isn't a true story, isn't it?
I believe it is. I believe it's based.
Did it say that at the beginning of it?
It didn't, but I believe this is based
remember.
on real people that are still over there and that were stranded, I want to say. And I don't know. I'm a sucker for these kind of movies in general. And when they're not overly done, I mean, if it's too in your face.
I don't think this is a true story.
I don't need Black Hawk Down every time out with that kind of hyper realism. Sometimes something like this. I mean, you couldn't tell me that you wouldn't have known that this was directed by Guy Ritchie if his name wasn't on it. If I told you Sam Mendes directed this, you would believe me.
Yeah, and I think that's unfortunate. Like, I would like to have seen a little bit more
flair.
It just something with it. It just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't really catch me at any moment. And like I say, it feels unauthentic. It feels like it's not very realistic. I don't know. Like when they go to get the. Well, I guess when the original main action goes down, it just feels like weird. Like why'd they only send like a couple dudes to go do this? And if it's this important, it feels, I don't know. Everything about this feels just poorly written.
I don't know if this story. Let me clarify that. I don't know if this story is based on a true story exactly, but I know this scenario is very common. Apparently, though, that they left guys behind that were helping us. Yeah, and stranded them.
I know we won't get political here.
Yeah,
won't say anything.
That's why I think that it's based on that.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, this movie was made before we pulled out of Afghanistan. I think, wasn't it?
It was released earlier this year, but I think it was made before. It was in the process of being made.
I don't know. It must have been made in the process, right?
Yeah, somewhere along the line. And let's see. Oh, I
can't remember if they had to change this because of that or not. I don't remember. I feel like there was something about that.
Also, a fairly long movie. This is a solid 2 hours, and it feels when it's over.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it because it has different. The acts
are very delineated.
You can tell exactly where like one piece ends and one begins, or another one begins, because it just. I don't know. Whatever.
You're not recommending it, and I'm
done.
I am recommending it.
I'm over it.
All right, let me tell you briefly here about another war film I saw, or a make-believe war film, and that is Expendables 4. And Yay. I should have told you about this in the beginning, and it really pains me. I'm trying to find the positive of this because it is as bad as you've heard. It's everything that they said it wasn't going to be when this series started. There's very little practical action. It's mostly...
Stallone ducks out, right?
I mean, how spoiler do you want me to get in this?
Do whatever you want. I mean, I'll watch it when it comes out on video, but I don't give a shit. I've already read all about it.
All right, well...
So Stallone, as far as I understand, Stallone ducks out, right? For most of the movie.
They kill his character off in the beginning. And I thought, holy shit, this movie's got some fucking balls all of a sudden.
You thought it was going to be good?
I thought we had some stakes.
Hey,
well, guess who shows up in the final act to save, and it was all a ruse, and you start thinking, of how the fuck was that a ruse? And they got Tony Jaa, and the only person that seems to actually be acting in this movie and enjoying it and kind of understanding what's going on is Andy Garcia, who, if you don't recognize...
Is he the bad guy in this?
No, he's the new Bruce Willis is the best way to describe it. You know, he's the guy giving the orders
I'm not even
out.
sure I saw him in any of the trailers.
They buried him.
Was he featured heavily at all? Yeah, I was going to say.
But he seems to be getting the music. He seems to be having some fun here with this role, and everybody else just seems to be collecting a paycheck. And Megan Fox is so badly cast. I mean, this movie has you believe that they sideline Statham. She's the new Barney Ross, and she sends out with the guys. Well, he then has to go and get her. And part of the fun of kind of watching something like this, I have to admit, I saw this on vacation in a theater that had nobody in it. So it was a private screening, and this was like watching a Cannon film, Cannon films from the 80s, in that it's so fucking ridiculous, and that you're never going to see something this stupid and boneheaded again. When they walk into a bar, it's only to get in a fight with the guys in the bar and break shit. Although I will say Stallone's in it more than I thought he was going to be. I thought it was going to be a scene here and there. He's pretty much in the first act, so I'll give it that, although he's shoehorned in the most unusual way. Statham's charismatic, but he's given little to do. Megan Fox is in it for some reason. 50 Cent is just wandering around this movie. It's so lazy that Dolph Lundgren... Is he
a nerd in this as well?
Dolph Lundgren is wearing his hair from Aquaman. And they have some throwaway line that he's online dating. I'm not kidding.
I know.
It's fucking ridiculous.
His hair is ridiculous.
The whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that Randy Couture is given more lines in this one than anybody else, you're like, what's happening here? It's an utter shit show.
He was the only one willing to do it.
I'm telling you, it's an utter shit show. It's a total bomb.
I'll say one of the worst things happening to action movies right now is the fact they think they can cast Megan Fox as an action star. It's not happening. Give up.
It's so not happening.
I want it to happen. Believe me. I love Megan Fox, but she's terrible in action movies. I've not liked a single one.
She has maybe one or two good scenes in this, and also something that's strange is for continuity. Where's Charisma Carpenter, who played Statham's fiance / girlfriend?
Well, Megan Fox is close enough.
She's not playing the same character.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. Don't think about that.
It's fucking terribly written. It's put together very, very amateurishly, which I didn't expect because I like Scott Waugh, who did Act of Valor and did a Hidden Strike on Netflix with John Cena and Jackie Chan. So his brother Rick Romain Waugh has done some really good movies too. But these guys are former stuntmen. I just expected something better, especially if they spent $100 million on this movie. Where the fuck did that money go? I feel like the producers took a lot off
special
the top.
Effects?
No, special effects. Trevor,
action
when
scenes?
you watch these special effects, you could do better on your phone. I'm not kidding. They're laughably bad. Laughably.
Maybe Stallone got a fucking payday, here on this just to get him to come
back. This is Millennium
and
Films
for one last time.
I'm sure those guys, they're crooks.
Yeah.
They shoot these for the cheap across seas, inflate the budget, and take money off the top. That's always been their modus. Their operating procedure, and I'm sure it's the same here. This is thankfully the end of the franchise. It should go no further than this, and really a sad, inglorious ending to what was supposed to be this beautiful comeback and was supposed to be the antidote to all the superhero shit. And now we're in a movie where everybody's a fucking cartoon and can fly around and do crazy shit and survive all sorts of stuff. I mean, the CGI is so bad. Wait till you see this, man. I can't wait to buy this just to put it on our Vudu for you to watch it so we can have a conversation in the future about it.
Yeah, I have to watch the movie, but I don't know. Yeah, the second and the third one are at least still a lot of fun.
They're masterpieces compared to this.
I'm at least happy. Yeah, I'm sure.
Masterpieces.
What I've heard. Yeah, so at least we'll always have those. The first one's rocky, but still is what it is. So Expendables at least served its point, if not, again, it's another casualty of being brought out one too many times.
Oh, man, they should have left these 9 years too late, to be honest. You can't go this long. This wasn't a beloved franchise to begin with, to wait a decade before your sequel comes out. So,
well, it's funny, right, that this was almost beloved before it came out, right? When they announced the Expendables, everyone, they were salivating. Everyone was like, this is going to be fucking amazing. And then that first movie hit and it was like, and they barely redeemed themselves with the second. And then by the third, I think people just realized they didn't care.
And now this one, it's official that worldwide nobody gives a shit because this is bombing all over the world.
Done.
And it's really...
It's unfortunate.
It is. And, it's not Stallone's worst bomb. That would be a bullet to the head, which I think is unfairly
Which I
overlooked.
Fucking love. Talk about being in a theater by yourself watching a movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, that was an amazing time in a theater all by myself. I love that movie, but I love action movies. And we'll talk about this when we... get to the trailers and stuff. I want action movies again. I just regular action movies. Where's my Steven Seagal? Where's my Van Damme? Where's my Schwarzenegger? Where are those movies? And apparently they can't get them off the ground because they're making shit like this.
It's very true. And I think we would not see any future action hero stuff. I mean, from all these guys, including Statham, and we'll talk about him also in the trailer section with the Beekeeper. But he even looked tired in this, and he usually looks very engaged. He's not a guy to phone it in his movies.
Well, he didn't have a giant shark to play off of, so
he didn't have anybody. He had Megan Fox's fake tits. That was a Freudian slip. Jesus Christ. Hope the fiance doesn't listen to this one. All right, let's move it along here and talk. Tell me about Totally Killer, because to preface this, I wanted to talk about this with you because I started watching this 2 nights ago, and I got through maybe 25, 30 minutes. I put it on really late, and I fell asleep, but I kind of enjoyed what I saw, including Lachlan Moreno as the dad, who was in, what was it, Scary Movie, the knockoff of, in a bunch of those type movies. I always liked that guy. I think he was in Phantoms as well. But anyways, this looked like a very knowing, very fun. I mean, it said horror comedy. I didn't see too many laughs in that first act, but I liked the mask that they were using for this guy, kind of like a Johnny Bravo type look. Mm-hmm. But tell me about it. What did you think?
Yeah, so this movie's a bit on the head here, around the nose, I should say. It's definitely very meta, which is unfortunate. I'm getting a little sick and tired of the meta stuff, but it still has some laughs and stuff. When she time travels back in time, the teenage mom, her mom, whatever, it's pretty fucking funny. I have to admit, she's a total fucking bitch. And it's a fun horror movie. I don't know if you like fun, silly horror movies, then this is right up the, like Happy Death Day would be, the grand detour of this type of genre thing. And then you have other fun horror movies. Like there was that Vince Vaughn one.
Freaky.
That was that one called? Yeah, it was just called Freaky. Yeah. And so this is similar to that. They make a lot of. They talk a lot about Back to the Future, and that's not surprisingly kind of a part of this movie as well. They do jokes and all kinds of weird stuff with that. They talk about Scream. I did call the killer, but there's some extra twists in it that I didn't call. Like I thought I called the killer, and then I wasn't sure, and then in the end I did, but I also didn't. So there's that to look forward to.
Half the fun of the movie is calling the killer, right?
Yeah, it's so it's not a stupid movie. In the sense that you're just like, I know who the killer is. This is just dumb nonsense or whatever. It actually plays out. It makes sense. It's fairly brutal, but it's still funny. It's just a slasher, time travel, all around weird thing. I'm getting tired of the meta stuff. Unless it's Deadpool, I'm not interested anymore. It's weird to keep doing that. It's cheap writing. Why don't you just do the Back to the Future stuff and let people figure it out for themselves? You don't have to keep saying it, Oh,
well, you haven't seen The Flash yet, which literally has a guy with a tattoo of it.
It's just unnecessary to do that stuff. Like in Deadpool and stuff, it works because he's literally making fun of the way that it's happening like that. Like he's kind of making fun of the shitty writing. But this is just the meta stuff. Just stop doing it. You can make the jokes and things, but stop with the I can't believe we're in a fucking, can you believe we're in a movie? Yeah. Okay. I get it, but other than that, yeah, I would recommend this if you like the Happy Death Day movies, especially, or anything in that sense, like Freaky. God, I can't think of any more horror comedies like this, but there are others.
No, there's a whole bunch. Once Bitten back in the day was one of my favorite. Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah.
I used to love that.
There's more recent ones that are more like this, but you're right. Yeah,
you can go back to Idle Hands. You can go back to My Boyfriend's Dead or My Boyfriend's Back.
There you go.
There you get all those kind of movies.
Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of them
very similar to that.
The difference here between some of the comedies you had in the 90s is that this is actually a slasher movie too. This is actually a horror movie.
It's got some brutality to it.
People get stabbed. There's blood. There's some kills in this. Because it's comedy, people react in a different way. There's some Scream references, and I don't know. It is what it is. It's I guess a lower tier horror comedy is what I would say. That's perfect for streaming. It's lots of fun. I would recommend.
And an MGM release, which I was kind of surprised about. I saw that logo on there.
Mm-hmm. Well, Amazon.
And it is now going viral. It says on their, I love it says going viral on their streaming service at the top movie. But it's the number one thing on their service.
Yeah, I believe it. Especially it's Halloween and stuff. You're looking for more of a fun movie. It's definitely, it's interesting because there's, with a lot of these movies feel like, I don't want to say like feminine, but they have that very like girlish approach to them where because you're kind of making fun of it, it makes it less real. So, girls would be more attracted to watch it. Maybe
that was my problem with the Final Girl,
and so and
things like that. It softened it up a little bit. It was a little too jokey.
So this does that too. Well, that's what Freaky does, and that's what even though they go, pretty gory, and they go the full way that if it was a real slasher movie without all the jokes and stuff, it would still be done in this way. The way that characters react to things is totally ridiculous in the moment and stuff, and so it's less scary. So I think that gets them, I guess, more eyeballs, because for true horror fans, you're still going to have fun with it, and for people who don't normally watch horror because they don't want to be scared, can watch this and they won't be scared.
Yeah, it's light. And that's usually why they had back in the day in the 80s. With the slasher movies, they'd have the kill and then the comic relief moment, right? So it's like a little laugh to let you know that it's all good. And
some, not most. Well, I mean, most slash movies that I've seen didn't have
No.
a lot of comedy in them. It wasn't until we got it wasn't until you got Scream or things like that where shit got meta and people started calling out how stupid things were in slash movies. I mean, I guess in that sense they were funny because there's a lot of.
I feel like in some of those
bad
old
movies.
Jason movies, like in the mid ones or the mid 80 ones and on.
That's what I mean.
They would say certain
but those
stuff.
are stupid. But those are just dumb, right? And that's kind of what it. I don't know. I mean, to some extent, Freddy Krueger's ridiculous. Like, he's a clown at some points.
It's true.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. That was kind of, I think, the point of like a lot of like what we got the slasher films in the 90s was that it's just ridiculous, you know. But they embraced it, and so I don't know. This movie it does that as well, like tongue in cheek. It's not it's not being cruel. It's just having fun.
I will check it out because it's Halloween and I do like that mask. You think we're going to see a lot of those masks on Halloween? Yeah. Think it's going to be a big seller this year?
I doubt it.
It's no ghost face?
Highly doubt it. Who's trick-or-treating? I don't think people trick-or-treat very much anymore. So.
You mean you don't? I was going to show up at your house with my pillow sack and ask for some candy. No.
Oh, yeah. I'll tickle your sack. Don't worry.
I'll take that fentanyl pill, please. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
All right, let's lastly talk about the trailers for tonight's show, and that's going to be, the first one on the list is going to be John Woo's return to American cinema with Joel Kinnaman, the guy who did the RoboCop reboot about 10 years ago, in a Christmas-themed action film titled Silent Night, where the lead character has no dialogue. I wasn't clear if there's no dialogue in the whole film or just no dialogue for the main character, but with John Woo's command of the language, we've seen him speak in person, and it's not very clear.
Well, other people there was dialogue in the
trailer.
Was there not?
There was, but I didn't know if that was just peripheral, if this is like mostly just a silent film.
Well, it did feel that way, but it's not totally silent. Yeah. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is mostly supposed to be just a ridiculous action movie, right? I mean, this looks like a lot of fun. I want to see this.
I want to see it too, but I'm a little
totally honest with you.
Concerned that it looks slightly cheap. Did you notice that a couple times? That there's some of the shots? No, I don't know. Maybe
it looks like an action. Well, let me tell you this. It looks like all three of these movies. It looks like I'm back 20 years ago, right? It looks like all these movies are like, seriously, these are like early 2000s movies. Like we got two early 2000s action movies. Like I was just asked for my Steven Seagal. Well, clearly the Beekeeper here. Silent Night. This is just a John Woo movie. It looks like it. Feels like it. Like I want to see this. And Dream Scenario would be like like a Kaufman type movie.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
So early 2000s for these. I mean, I think, I don't know, does it look cheap? I guess, Mission Impossible 2 has its moments where it looks kind of cheap too. It's a John Woo movie. I don't know. What do you mean by cheap?
There was a shot specifically where they're playing before the kid gets shot and the gangbangers are driving, and it's like an upper shot where the cars come around the corner and they're shooting at each other. It just looked very small and straight to video. And it gave me a bad taste. I mean, there were other parts of it. It's hard to say that one shot ruined the trailer for me, but I just my defenses went up because
you're not wrong,
I've been sold before on John Woo, and he's done some real low budget shit like Blackjack and Once Upon a Thief and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was a little concerned about that.
Well, I don't think you're wrong. That's just it's just that type of action movie. I think you're going to get shots like that,
and it's practical.
If you go
at least,
back
right?
and it looks like it's there's some really terrible CGI in this. It looks like, but truly, there's some really bad CGI. But I don't know. It's John Woo. I don't think he's gonna like adapt that much and be making a movie for today's audiences, so to speak. He's gonna make a John Woo movie,
and this might be the last American film released, American distributed John Woo film. Because he's getting up there in age. He's got to be in his 70s now. I mean, he's not a young man.
Yeah.
And he's been making these kind of films for a long time. So I will be seeing this. Is this going to be released to theaters? I didn't catch if this was going to be a cinemas release or a DVD or a
Christmas
streaming. Great.
Theaters. Releases December 1st.
Okay, great. Even better. We need more action cinema, even though... I went and supported Expendables, even though it's terrible. I want. At least I went and saw it.
Yeah, not Expendables, but I want action movies like real action movies, and that looks like a real action movie to me. And it might have moments, like you say, of cheapness, or it might be, not completely up to date, I guess, in slickness. You know, it's not John Wick. You know, and I think that's important. I don't want everything to be John Wick. It's bad to latch on to that kind of shit.
Well, we had that with the Bournes for a decade and a half, you know, where everything was Jason Bourne.
Yeah, the slickness, I'm done. I'm good with the slickness. I want to go back to someone directing something doing, dare I say, something artistic, you know, which is crazy to think that John Woo's doing something artistic when everyone thought all this shit was silly. But seriously, like, Michael Bay might be the most artistic fucking action director today.
At least
it's ridiculous.
I can say
that can't
this.
be true, right?
If I go see a John Woo film or a Michael Bay film, I know I'm not seeing somebody ripping off Christopher Nolan. I'm seeing somebody ripping off Tony Scott or something like that.
It's not just someone who's just servicing, you know, who's just sitting in the chair saying action, you know, as they just make the same fucking John Wick like slick action film that they do, like, while the stunt team just, you know, does the whole movie.
Right. So we'll see how this goes. Although I'm a sucker for Christmas set or winter themed action films, a la Reindeer Games or Die Hard 2. I mean, I love those movies. So yeah, this looks right up my alley.
I don't think this has. It's just weird because the beginning, obviously, I mean, the only Christmas thing in this is his sweater,
right? In the title.
And then after that, it's like, it's not Christmas. It's just a revenge movie.
It's Christmas Eve.
Okay,
he's got a reindeer.
Hey, what it is an excuse to go watch an action movie. So hey, I'm good.
I'll
there.
take it. Speaking of action films in the winter season, we're going to be talking about The Beekeeper next. This is Jason Statham's umpteenth action film where he plays a man out for revenge. The difference is that this is directed by David Ayer, and while I was laughing initially at the trailer when he's going after telemarketers on phishing scams, I actually thought that this was pretty damn good by the end, and I was like, damn it, I'm getting sold on another Jason Statham action fucking movie I'm going to go see.
I'm all in. This looks fucking awesome.
Surprising,
right?
Me?
Holy shit. It's fucking ridiculous. The premise is stupid. This dude is chewing up dudes and spitting them out, and he's just fucking the shit out of everybody. I love it. And it's just Statham. I mean, this is fucking. This is what Steven. This is like Steven. So Jason Statham's a fucking action star at this point. If you watch this trailer, it's just Jason Statham. Like, he's the last fucking action star standing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and
he really is. Who else would make a movie like this stupid, and you'd watch it and be like, it's fucking awesome?
The only other person that would make it and it would get released right now is Liam Neeson, and that's barely hanging on anymore.
But he's not. I still just don't see him as an action star. He sits there and talks all throaty and stuff, and that's supposed to be like his. You know, he's just hard. He's just sitting around with, you know, the hard dick the whole time, like, I'm gonna fuck you if you don't watch out, and that's his whole fucking shtick, and that's it. You know, pretty much. But Statham's like fucking people up in this.
And I love that, of course, he's not just a beekeeper. That really means he's part of a secret outfit that keeps the world in line when things get out of whack and the natural balance to things and whatever it may be. It looks like it gets real convoluted and real fun. And, you know, as for every Expendables 4, you also get a Wrath of Man, which I thought was really, really underrated.
I loved Wrath of Man.
And I just think that Statham is not only carrying the torch for the last of the action heroes currently, and he's getting up there as well. But he's so damn charismatic.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like watching him on screen. He's a likable, very charismatic guy, and I think he's poorly used in those Fast and Furious movies. And I thought that he was only doing those to get his international profile higher, so that he does things like the Expendables. It helps those, but obviously that's not happening. But hopefully Beekeeper does better.
Maybe. I also like that this is a David Ayer movie, which I have a love-hate relationship with.
Yeah, you really do.
With David
you really
Ayer.
do have a love-hate relationship with him.
Much like Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm really excited to see David Ayer pull something out of his ass here. It's just fucking awesome.
Must be is this independently produced as well? Because I know he was on the shit list of most studios for a while. Ayer, and
why?
Because of the whole Suicide thing, the Suicide Squad thing. I mean, wasn't the last film he did independently produced too? The one with Shia LaBeouf, the tax collector. I think he's been working on the independent, with the Fast and Furious thing. He's been bitching about.
Ate shit on that. I mean, I don't know what he's bitched about. He ate shit on the fucking Suicide Squad thing, right? I mean, that he doesn't like that cut of the movie, but he went around saying it was the greatest fucking thing he's ever made, right? I mean, he he did his part. So I would be surprised if the studios felt
well, he was talking
towards
big
him.
shit recently about not getting any sort of compensation for Fast and Furious.
Well,
that he created that whole franchise, that he made Toretto and those kids. It was set in Jersey. He changed it to L.A.
Yeah.
He did a lot of uncredited work on that screenplay.
He's also been talking shit about Suicide Squad stuff now too. So I don't know what happened. I mean, you might be right. But he's he's laid the whole truth out about Suicide Squad. Doesn't like it. There's his director's cuts out there somewhere, and it's fucking a way different movie. It's way better, this and that and all that shit. So
you know who he's like? He's like a slightly more mild version of Joe Carnahan. You know, the fucking wild man
to some
who's
extent,
out there always running his mouth.
I mean, I think him and Guy Ritchie have a lot in common as well. Like all those guys are they're really second tier directors that every once in a while just knock it out of the fucking park.
In some cases, more than every once in a while. I'd say Guy Ritchie has a couple classics under his name, and
it's arguable, I guess.
Ayer as well.
But, I mean, I would argue differently, but you're right. I mean, yeah, that's true. But that's my point, is that these guys are people who direct movies that sometimes are very forgettable as far as audiences go. That they just nobody gives a shit, and sometimes they make kind of almost cult classic type things that people really love.
And I think that's going to be the case for our next film, which will be the last film we talk about on tonight's show, which is Dream Scenario, A24's release with Nicolas Cage.
Written by Charlie Kaufman.
I mean, it's not, but it should be. It's the most Charlie Kaufman script he never wrote.
Charlie Kaufman script.
I put a couple, was it 2 years ago, that Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nicolas Cage film. I put that on my 10 best list, if not on my top of it. This movie looks just as compelling to me as that. If it is ultimately, I don't know. But this trailer is cut very, very well. This is the kind of trailer that would have blown the roof off of audiences. If this was 1996, this would have been a huge holiday movie.
No, it's early 2000s.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, tell me this is not early 2000s.
100%.
Charlie Kaufman, early 2000s.
Spike Jonze.
I mean, this is the weirdest lineup of fucking of trailers I've seen like this, because I feel like I feel like I'm in the time machine. I've gone back in time. But I agree with you. This is about a guy who is so common looking, I guess, that people dream about him. That he's just in their dreams, right? He's just kind of in the background, and everyone recognizes him, and he realizes that this is happening, and he becomes famous, right, for it, because everyone, this guy is in my dreams. I do dream of him, all this kind of stuff. But then it looks like the dreams go bad, and people start not liking him so much.
And he has to deal with the fame and the unwanted attention of the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a pretty classic A24 type movie here. Highly intelligent. It looks like there's going to be a lot of thematic elements and really a lot like Charlie Kaufman stuff, which is, it's just meaty stuff to watch, right? You're going to be thinking the whole time and taking things in and trying to connect the dots here between how things work. And I guess high art, but good high art.
It also looks like Cage is working his ass off in this movie.
That's the other thing, right? But he's been in Charlie Kaufman movies before, so it's not surprising.
Even if we're getting away from the Charlie Kaufman, this looks like it could have been like a Gore Verbinski. You know what I mean? Like other guys he's worked at, or even the Coen brothers. This kind of has that kind of vibe to it too.
I agree. It does.
Yeah. Like there's a weird urgency, like a dangerous,
it's of a different time,
a dangerous urgency to this movie. It feels like, and you're like, what's going on? There seems to be a darker undercurrent to this than they're really landing onto, and that's what I want to get to the heart of when I see this. Like, really,
right.
What's the?
They kind of show that a glimpse of that at the end of the trailer. Yeah.
But I'm really ecstatic about this one. I can't wait to watch this movie. This might end up once again on my top 10 list just from seeing the trailer here.
Well, this comes out November 22nd.
Perfect.
I don't know if that's wide or not. I imagine it is. It's A24. Sometimes they have weird release
They stagger things for quite a while, unless it's a horror film.
Sometimes they have limited releases in the beginning. Sometimes they don't. I don't know. They're weird. But November 22nd, anyhow.
Excellent. So it was right at.
They'll probably play by you. You're by a big city.
Right in time for. And you know what? His last film, The Retirement Plan, which was a little straight to DVD movie, was playing theatrically here, just like The Kill Room was the other day with Joe Manganiello and Morgan Freeman and I think Renee Zellweger. It's got a strange cast. Every time I look at listings now, it's either Bollywood films or like straight to DVD movies. So I think they're just trying to fill up the marquee right now during the week.
The films here in my city are just all major films. There's almost no small
Are they
stuff.
doing a bunch of re-releases?
But I'm sure if I went to
Like, they've had Rain Man, Back to the Future, The Exorcist.
well, I don't know, maybe. Because they have, what is that thing called? It's not Fandango, but...
Oh, you're talking about Fathom events,
Fathom? So, yeah, I mean, we do have Fathom stuff. So I see they play the old movies like that up here, too. But I don't know. Those are usually such limited engagements and stuff. I mean, I don't know. The Taylor Swift movie's coming out, though, so I guess everyone's going to go see that.
Thank God.
And nothing else.
I can't wait. I know you've already pre-ordered your tickets.
Time. Yeah, tickets, exactly. I'm going to all the shows. Yeah, I'm going to make a bet that they're going to extend that engagement.
I think
that's going to sell extremely well.
I heard that you're going to wear a diaper so that you can piss yourself so you won't miss any of the musical numbers during the performance.
Well, it's not that long, is it?
Are you getting worried now? You might wear a diaper. You're like, shit, I wasn't planning on it, but how many beers do you have to crush to get through it? I mean, that's the real question, right?
Oh God, hey man, they serve beer down here at this theater. Maybe that's what you'd have to do if you had to go watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. It's nice to know though that you could do this, because if you had a daughter, could you imagine paying for those fucking tickets, man? I'd be like, nah, you're gonna see it in the theater.
Yeah. We'll see it 4 times in the theater on the same day at that point.
Exactly. And pay no $1,000 for you.
I'll fucking order you a poster and a shirt on Amazon. You have it the day of. We see it in the theater. You're all good.
Buy the Blu-ray. You watch it all you want.
She's as likely to see you in the audience from the fucking movie screen as she is from the stage anyway. So you're fine. Oh shit. Well, that's going to wrap up episode 390. We want to thank you guys for joining us. As always, can't believe we're this many episodes in, but it's been a fun ride. And stay with us. We're going to look back at a couple of old movies on the next podcast, and we'll be back with you with a whole slew of new releases. As always, you can check out our old reviews at moviemavericks.com and our past podcast libraries on there as well. Speaking for Trevor Anderson, I am Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to moviemavericks.com, Warp 9. Engage!